What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to have a look at the top 10 cards in terms of value from OP-08. OP-08 is now out, except apparently where I live, or I've just not been able to get any. If you're wondering why I've not been able to upload an opening of OP-08 so far, the local place where I generally go didn't get any, which honestly makes me really sad, because I want to go and get some boxes. Boo, etc. Hopefully soon. But we do have the set being released now, so we can look at the early top 10 cards from the set in terms of value. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say I don't really get this. Generally speaking, we should be roughly following the prices over in Japan. And some of these are just... they're out there, ladies and gentlemen. They're out there. But let's start off with a number 10 card in the set. The number 1 card in the set for me, it is TCG, the special rare, which is currently coming in at about $42. Now, I need to remind you guys, we are early. The prices right now are way too high. The prices are going to come down, and honestly, they're going to come down significantly over the next few weeks, as they generally tend to do. So, like I say, this is early sales, we'll see. But right now we're talking about $42 for the TCG, and this is a special rare. And people like the special rares, especially this style of special rare. We've gone back to the OP-05 style, they are beautiful. TCG as a card, counter plus 2k is good. And activate main, rest this character to give one of your opponent's characters -2 cost for the turn is good. For me, TCG and Smoker are two of my favourite characters in One Piece, so I definitely need to pick it up for that reason. Like I say, I imagine it's too high right now, but $40 for a special rare, it doesn't actually sound horrendous, and it's in at number 10, and this is cool. In at number 9, we've got ourselves the treasure rare Monkey D. Luffy, and look, it's currently sitting there at about $44. Both of the other treasure rares have settled at around $30. So, again, I don't imagine this settling here. I will say, because we've had better supply for the last couple of sets, we're not seeing quite such ridiculous prices on release, and we're not seeing quite such big drops as a result of that. But make no mistake, I expect all these cards to come down. But the treasure rare Luffy is currently sitting at about $44, and it is the Luffy from OP-07 that lets you trash this character to KO a 4 cost or less, if you got 2 or less life at the time, or as a trigger, you KO a 4 cost or less. It's a cool card, and look, we're currently in the Egghead Island arc in the manga and the anime. I am loving it so far, which means that I'm like every week, or every 2 weeks depending, desperately hoping and waiting for this next issue of the manga, and it's kind of lovely. So then when you get a card like this which evokes the manga, it makes me happy. I cannot be the only one thinking along those lines. It's coming in at number 9. In at number 8, we've got the leader Marco coming in at around about $53. And frankly, nah mate. This one seems way too high. As a point of comparison, if we look at Japanese price, and Japanese cards are cheaper, but they should be proportionately about right. In Japan, Marco is 1/3 of the price of TCG. 1/3 of the price. And yet here, it's above. That's weird to me, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we do have an alternate art leader. Interestingly, one of only 2 alternate art leaders on this list. In the set, there's only 2 alternate art leaders on the list. And I will say, over in Japan, Marco is the second highest leader in terms of value. So we do at least have that. But I'm not buying it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not buying it. For what it's worth, I do think Marco has a huge amount of potential as a leader. Dual color red-blue. And Don X1, activate main, draw 1. Put a card for your hand to the top or bottom of your deck to give one of your opponent's characters -2,000 power for the turn. I like this as a leader. And when this was first revealed, I was effusive in my praise. I still think there's a lot of potential. But it's been legal in Japan for a while now, and it's not actually proven to be terribly good, which might tell you what you need to know. In at number 7, we've got the special rare Queen. Now, we only see 2 leaders on this top 10 list. We will be seeing all 6 of the special rares on this list. The special rares in this set are big. Generally speaking, with a couple of exceptions, which we're obviously going to go through in this video, the special rares are what you're looking for. And of course here, we've got the starter deck for Queen. We've got a blocker that Don -1 on play lets you draw 2 and trash 1. This is a great card. We know it's a great card. It's been a great card since the first 4 starter decks came out during the Super pre-release, and there is no reason to believe that this will ever be anything other than a great card, so it makes sense that this would be on the list. And I didn't actually tell you a minute ago, but it's in at number 7, and it's currently sitting at about $68, but it was at the top of the screen. In at number 6, we've got ourselves the Charlotte Pudding special rare, which is coming in at about $72. And this is another one which seems weird to me, but we're the other way round. This should be the joint highest of the special rares, and there's 3 special rares above it, one of which is joint with it in Japan, so that makes sense. But there's 2 special rares which are lower than this in Japan, one significantly, which are currently higher than it on the English listings. And again, I don't think that makes a huge amount of sense, to me personally. But we've got it coming in at $72. It's still a very expensive card. And what we've got from the Charlotte Pudding here is your 1-cost generic Big Mum Searcher. Play, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, find a Big Mum Pirate, put it in your hand. You know the deal. Good card. If you're playing a Big Mum Pirates yellow deck, you're going to be playing this. It's a very cool card. And of course, it is Charlotte Pudding, who is one of the more popular characters in One Piece, and it is a special rare, but this should be the first or second special rare on the list. It shouldn't be the 4th. That is weird to me. In at number 5, we've got ourselves Jewelry Bonnie, the special rare, which is the other joint highest in Japan. So Jewelry Bonnie and Charlotte Pudding should be 1 and 2 in the special rares, not 3 and 4. It's a little bit weird to me. But we got a $78 card here, and we got the Jewelry Bonnie from Starter Deck 2, which is activate main, pay 1, and it's your generic Supernova Searcher. Look at the top 5 cards, find a Supernova. You know the deal by this point. And again, like we said with Charlotte Pudding, it's Jewelry Bonnie. It is a very popular character. It's a decently playable card, but it's a generic searcher, and these really depend on that kind of deck being good. And right now, Supernova decks, green Supernova decks at least, aren't particularly great. So, yeah. Sorry about that. Bit too low. I would expect, if we did this list in a couple of months' time, and we might, I would expect this to be higher than number 5. In at number 4, we've got the special rare of Gecko Moria. This is coming in at about $80, and this one is too high. This should be, by rights, the 4th highest special rare. That's what we've got over in Japan. It should not be the 2nd highest. It makes no real sense. Don't get me wrong, we like Gecko Moria, and the card's cool, but we're not talking the OP-06 ridiculously good Gecko Moria here. We're talking about the one from Starter Deck 3, which is alright. On play, add a 7 Warlords of the Sea or Thriller Bark character with a cost of 4 or less other than Gecko Moria from your trash to your hand. And we know 7 Warlords are pretty good with Doflamingo. And we know that Thriller Bark can be good, but generally not blue Thriller Bark. So, yeah. It's alright. Don't get me wrong. It's a cool card. I would be very happy to pull this card. But it is a little too high right now. I would expect this to drop under some of the other cards. Speaking of which, Portgas D-Ace. The special rare Portgas D-Ace currently also coming in at about $80. But trending just a bit higher than Gecko Moria. Over in Japan, this is the 3rd highest special rare. Over here, it's just flat out in at number 1. And look, it's a very cool card. And over in Japan, it is close to Charlotte Pudding and Jewelry Bonnie. And we've got a few things going on here. We've got Ace being a very popular character, which is a big deal. And we do have a very nice playable card that does pop up in red decks. We've got, on play, give 2 of your opponent's characters -3k during this turn. And then if your leader's Whitebeard Pirates, this character gains Rush. So it's only really good in red Whitebeard Pirates decks, and it's decent, it's a good card, it's seen a bunch of play, and it's ace and all of that, but it still seems too high. Speaking of too high, in at number 2, we've got Charlotte Pudding, the alternate art leader, which is coming in at about $86 and is the number 2 card in the set. And again, if we look to Japan for instruction, this is way too high. Like, way too high. Charlotte Pudding should be below all of the special rares. Over in Japan, it is 1,000 yen less, about 20% less than the special rare Tashigi, which is the lowest of the special rares. And I know that the prices in the Western Japan aren't exactly the same. And like I say, Japan generally tends to be cheaper. But generally speaking, the order is about the same. Not always guaranteed, but this set, more than most, seems to be a little bit all over the place in terms of order, and we really are not agreeing with Japan. For context, over in Japan, if you want to go and buy this leader as a single, you want to walk into a shop and get yourself a decent, not an amazing bargainous price, but a decent price, walking in, no haggling or digging through millions of shops, you'll pay about $35 for this card. And again, you can get it cheaper, but you're walking into a standard shop and just buying it there, you're going to pay about $35. In English, it is apparently an $85 card. And like I say, generally speaking, Japanese cards are a bit cheaper than English, don't get me wrong. But holy moly, that is a big difference. And look, I like the Charlotte Pudding leader. I actually love the Charlotte Pudding leader. I think it's the best leader from the set. And to be fair, in Japan, it is 2.5 times Marco, the number 2 leader. It is significantly the best leader in the set. And I love the combination of purple and yellow. And I love the skill that when attacking turns the top 2 cards of your life face up to add a Don from your Don deck rested. I think it's a really good leader. And I think it's got a huge amount of potential. But we've had a lot of tournaments in Japan since OP-08 came out. We know Charlotte Pudding's not that great a leader. So this is just way too high. And maybe we're going to do that thing we do sometimes where we just pick a card and inflate it massively higher than it should be. That might be what's happening with Charlotte Pudding. But right now it's $86 and it's too high. And obviously number 1, Silver's Rally, the manga rare. It's currently sitting at about 490. That's roughly what we're looking at here. It is not a valuable manga rare. In Japan, it is the second cheapest manga rare after the Soji King from OP-03. And that seems to be about what we're looking at here. Honestly, this is not the set where you desperately want to pull the manga rare. And don't get me wrong, anytime you pull a manga rare is awesome. But this is not the manga rare you desperately want to pull. Like Soji King, for instance, is sitting down at about $340 right now. So it's at least higher than that one. But like the Zoro from OP-06 is sitting at about a $640 card right now. And that's not a stunning super rare, but it's significantly higher. The Tony Chopper from EB01 is setting at about $750, which again, that's not a stunning manga rare that you're desperate to pull, but it's still significantly higher. This is a worse manga rare to pull since OP-03. And it's still a manga rare, don't get me wrong. You should still be delighted if you pull this manga rare, because it's still a manga rare. But make no mistake about it, if you could pick which set you could pull your manga rare from, you would not pick this set, I think is probably the way to put it. So there we go. That's what you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. And now it's over to you guys. Those are the most expensive cards in the set. And this is a weird one. We got a manga rare, which is significantly cheaper than normal. And we've got a list which really does not match what we were expecting, having seen the Japanese prices, with some cards a bit too low and some cards way too high. But I've told you about all of this now, so now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards you want to get. Tell me what your chase cards for the set are. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.